everyone. Good to see you again. Everybody looks much more awake and engaged since I saw you a couple hours ago. Jack, good to see you as well. Thank you so much for joining us virtually for this.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to continue on this theme that we just saw about how industries are being disrupted, talking in particular about the insurance industry. So Jack, tell me, how in the insurance industry are you seeing technology and data change the way that you guys are doing your work?
Yeah, I think there are two primary ways that we see technology impacting our industry. One is maybe more of the sort of logical, sort of old school way of thinking about how technology might impact us, allowing us to improve our customer service, digitalizing some of the way we interact with our customers, and really embedding technology in our operations. And I think that's certainly one way we need to think about technology and innovation. But for me, what's more interesting is actually the other way that technology impacts our industry, which is around really changing customer behaviors and expectations. And I think the last session is a good sort of segue into that. If you think about the metaverse, and if people are starting to really, interact within the metaverse, how do insurers, change the way we operate in order to be part of that conversation, to be part of the customer experience? So technology impacts us not only directly in the way we run our business, but also indirectly in how we change our business model to serve our customers.
Can you give us an example of one of those changes?
Yeah, I think, it started with insurance becoming more embedded in the way we operate. So, how do we include insurance in a digital customer journey, for example? And that's something that insurers have been working on for some time. And, when people buy assets online, when you buy a travel ticket online, you don't want to then have to go buy insurance somewhere else, right? So making sure we're embedded, we're in the journey, we're in the experience. I think that's the first thing that's happened. The second thing that's happened is insurance has become much more service-led. So customers are asking their insurers to be more involved, within their asset, not just protecting them or paying them a claim. So for example, with cyber, it's really important for our consumers that we're there from the beginning. We help, assess their situation, understand the potential risks that they may have, help mitigate those risks around cyber, help make sure they're protected as much as possible, monitor the networks, and identify when a breach has happened and help remediate that breach. And often that service component of insurance is becoming far more important than the actual payment itself, because if you can avoid actually having the incident, then you're much better off. And I think the third way is we're seeing insurance become much more contextual. And this is where I think it gets much more interesting for insurers, because if we can provide the right information to our insurers at the right time and the right product, then we can be much more effective and much more in tune with what they need. A good example of that would be if we have an insured who's on a travel bike, a motorbike in Southeast Asia. We know that maybe they don't have coverage for being on the motorbike. Can we, reach out to them proactively and say, hey, you don't have coverage for this particular, this journey that you're on today. We can provide it for you, and be more contextual around when they actually need a product and what product they need.
On that theme of contextualization, how are you using that data to really benefit the consumers? So how are you helping them feel like you're looking out for their best interests versus using their data in a way they might be uncomfortable with? And how is that also impacting your business model as well?
Yeah, I think, what it means for us is if we know that the customer is putting themselves in a situation where potentially they might need help, how can we proactively help them to avoid something from happening? So if you have monitors in your house for leak detection, it's not just about getting the data on leak detection so we can pay a claim, but maybe we can predict leak detection, get ahead of it, and make sure the leak doesn't happen in the first place. So there's an element of trust with that data as well to make sure that insurers are using it appropriately. And at Zurich, we take that trust very seriously. But we believe by being in the conversation, by having the data, we can help avoid risk in the first place, which is ultimately what everyone wants to do, make sure it doesn't happen.
Great. And in our last 30 seconds together, how are you seeing the perspectives of your customers change, especially with their increasing use of tech and data? What are they asking from you that's different?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me to see how expectations have changed in the last 20 to 30 years. I just think of a very basic one, going out on the street and trying to hail a cab versus today, you plug your name and location into an app and a car shows up. And I think that, that expectation around speed, that expectation around understanding the actual customer need is translating into insurance very quickly. Customers don't want to buy policies that don't cover them for the risk that they're trying to protect. So really having that data, understanding the policies that are bought, understanding our customer needs allows us to be very specific in those situations.
Fantastic, Jack. Howell, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.